the other cases I cover aren't. This one I remember as it was evolving, it was pretty scary to know that there was somebody on the loose who was just killing people.
In Albuquerque.
In Albuquerque and in other places too. Alright, so normally I don't start with a quote because I feel like that's very cliche, but I'm going to do it today. People won't admit it. They're too busy grabbing to see the lights have fused. They can't see the darkness and the spider face beyond the great web of it all. But there's always this, if you scratch at the surface of happiness and goodness, the black and the black and the black. And that's John Fowles, the collector. This is grim and dark, so here we go. Today I'm discussing the case of Sean Lannon, a 47-year-old man who's been accused of killing 5 people between 2 different states and has been said to have admitted to killing 11 more.
Oh, wow.
There's belief or thought that he placed his victims in the lava tubes near France, New Mexico.
What?
But that's it.
We'll do our best, okay?
We'll do our best.
I lived in New Jersey for 2 years.
You
Granted,
did,
I was
that's
a
right.
child. I think that I absorbed the culture correctly. So let's do this.
That's the worst Jersey accent I've ever heard, by the way.
You shut your mouth.
That's my opinion.
In my opinion, that's the worst Jersey accent I've ever heard.
Originally from Melika Hill, an unincorporated community in Harrison Township, Gloucester County, New Jersey. I think it's Gloucester. Lannon will display a streak of anger, frustration, and horrifying brutality that is unrivaled. Anger, frustration, and horrifying brutality that is unrivaled. So before we jump into all of this, everyone needs to know that this case is still open. For all intents and purposes, it's technically closed because they know who the person is who was murdering everybody, but he hasn't been officially prosecuted or gone through the justice system yet, so it's still an open investigation, so to speak. But with that being said, just strap in for a ride that's going to leave you hanging on the edge of the cliff. Back in 2013, Lannon and his wife Jennifer were married in Pennsylvania. Jennifer was the mother of 5. She had a bachelor's and master's degree from Rutgers University, Camden.
Whoa.
She also earned an RN nursing license from Helen Fold School of Nursing in New York, and they moved to New Mexico in 2017, but divorced 2 years later.
Did you learn why they moved to New Mexico?
I did not learn why that happened. There's not a lot of information because this case is so new. There's not a lot of backstory here. Records show that Sean was awarded sole custody of the couple's 3 children in 2019, and that a protective plan from the CYFD included only supervised visitation by their mother over concerns at the time about the potential for neglect due to prescription drug abuse. You would think that this would be the end of the story, but it's not. Despite being divorced, it was reported the couple was still living together with their 3 children, girls 6 and 7 and a boy aged 4. And they were still attempting to work out their differences and disagreements.
So this is, and I don't want to interrupt, but so she already had 5 children prior, and then they have 3 children of their own. Or they never really clarify whose kids are whose biologically.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There's still a lot of kids floating around. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening. So Jennifer's brother, Chris Whitman, told the Associated Press, quote, "They were still parenting together and there was no indication that there was trouble at all. From my knowledge and our family's knowledge, they were working on their relationship and heading in the right direction," end quote. But the disagreements and differences all came to a head on January 17, 2021. Lannon shot 39-year-old Jennifer, his ex-wife, in the bedroom of their home in Grants, New Mexico. This was part of a 9-page affidavit which gave reasons for his arrest. The initial shooting occurred because Sean had discovered Jennifer having a relationship with a 40-year-old man named Justin Mata. Some reports say he caught them in a compromising situation. Other reports say he just caught them in a relationship. I don't like to speculate, so we'll just say that he found out something he didn't like. So, self-reporting, Sean Lannon said that he found his ex-wife and Mata having sex and that they had drugged the kids to go to sleep. When Mata left the house, Jennifer was freaking out because she had thought her children had died. Sean said Jennifer took a large dose of heroin in order to overdose because she could not live without her children, and after he checked on her and checked her pulse, he realized she was still alive. He shot her in the head. And this is according to him in a police interview.
So something happened where he gets there, and how he's able to deduce that she thought the kids had died from this alleged drugging of them to put them to sleep. I mean, I'm wondering, like, did she tell him, I think I killed them? Did she leave a note? I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think, like I said, this is still all developing. And the information we have, I think, is probably pretty limited because the police are probably holding back quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but as I get more updates, I'll definitely come back on the show and talk about it. But there's a lot of questions here. I mean, there's questions as to if he actually caught them in a relationship, or was this just his way of excusing his behavior in his mind, or rationalizing what he did.
Yeah, and it's interesting that people report that they observed their relationship moving forward and getting back on the right track, but typically abusers show like some type of evidence to show that they're being abusive prior to that, like controlling behaviors. So it's so interesting that the family said they had no concerns, and then out of the blue he just shoots her in the head when she is asleep, basically unconscious.
Yeah, it's weird. The whole story, and it only gets weirder and more confusing. So Sean then followed up this recounting by saying that he was going to kill himself, but just as he was about to do it, he heard one of the children cry out. After the murder, Sean put his wife and the bedding in a container in their backyard. 4 days after shooting his wife, he used her phone to lure Mata back to the house, and on January 21st, he killed Mata as well. Now, initially, these sound like crimes that may have been driven by something other than passion or disappointment. However, as far as speculation goes, this was either something Sean Lannon had been thinking of for a while, or he had some experience with this kind of violence in the past, and he had kept it a secret up until this moment. But more on that later. 4 days after Mata's murder, on January 25th, 21-year-old Matthew Miller, who allegedly sold drugs to the couple, was killed. So now we have Jennifer, Mata, and Matthew Miller. So apparently, we know he killed Mata and Jennifer because he thought they were having a relationship. A report detailing what Sean Lannon confessed says that Mata somehow, before his death, showed Sean a sexually explicit photo of Miller and another man with one of Lannon's children.
No.
That's what Sean Lannon is saying. We don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
Because of this, Lannon lured Miller to the home, and he shot and beat him as well. Police say that there is no evidence that remotely proves this.
A connection between Miller and the children. There's nothing to indicate that was true right now. Okay.
Right. I mean, you would think that the police would have access to Mata's phone and his records and everything else, so if he would have showed him something like that, they probably would have been able to find it. So now we have 3 bodies. On February 1st, Grant's police department received a missing persons report for Miller, and as the case unfolded, Jennifer Lannon and Mata were reported missing as well. So we have 3 people missing from the same town.
I'm so curious who reported Mata and Jennifer missing.
Yeah, I am too. Maybe it was friends.
Yeah.
Grants is a small town. So,
that's true, yeah.
And if she had a job there, if Mata had a job there, people would have noticed that they didn't show up to work, so that could have been part of it too. So 8 days later, on February 9th, Miller's vehicle was found parked a few blocks from the Lannon home. During investigation, a resident near the area of discovery said the car had been there since January 26th. So things are going to go more off the rails than they already have as I continue with the story. When the police reached out to Jennifer's parents, her mother said she had not seen or heard from Jennifer since January 9th and said it is odd that she normally keeps in contact at least every few weeks. In addition, the mom said she got a call from Sean who said Jennifer hit him with a frying pan and that she was having an affair with Mata. To double down on his story, he told police some information after they questioned him for help in regards to the missing persons case involving his wife. He told police that he saw her on February 10th and told them Jennifer Lannon, Mata, and an unidentified man had driven away in a white vehicle heading to drug addiction and had gone missing before. I suppose it's just easier to double down, but while the drug testimony might have been slightly correct, assuming the testimony he gave regarding the overdose, there's nothing to support the idea that she had a history of affairs. He said that, quote, he thinks Jennifer is alive and will show up when she needs money, end quote.
And he knows, like, obviously he knows what he's done this entire time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a scumbag.
Totally.
I mean, I just don't understand people that, well, I'll never understand murderers, number one, but to, like, just act like everything's fine. Like, no, they went to go buy drugs. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. And it goes back to, like, essentially blaming the victim, right? Like, no, she's this bad mom. She's disappeared. She's gonna go try to score some smack. She's having affairs. She's slutting around. So all of those classic tropes about, like, shaming the victim, shaming a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer's brother contradicts this when he says, quote, she was a great mom, and just, it would be uncharacteristic of her to not be with her children, end quote. So, just to cover his future tracks, he told police he was planning to travel with his children to South Jersey so they could stay with Jennifer's mother while he worked to get a new job and an apartment in the city of Albuquerque. A day after he was questioned about his wife's whereabouts, someone called and told investigators Sean had killed the 3 missing persons. The man also volunteered the information that at some point, Lannon had been asking people for an electric saw.
Oh my god. So he's putting out feelers, like, does anybody have anything that I could chop stuff with?
Right.
I will not specify or clarify what kind of stuff I need to chop.
I think this is probably one example of the difference between a serial killer and a street killer.
Yikes.
So methodical and careful, until they're not.
Tragic.
For a long time, a lot of them are very careful
and they have the materials they already need.
Right, and they're not going to go ask random people for electric saws to dispose of bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like that's going to cause problems for them in the future.
Right.
So other witnesses said that Lannon seemed to have been involved in a large-scale effort to clean something up. One woman told police he had appeared at her home all bleached out with blisters and cuts on his hand.
So, like, he was drenched in bleach.
That's what I mean, yeah. That's like New Mexico, all bleached out.
Oh, he was all bleached out.
You should have seen it.
You should have seen everything.
My name is Andrew Tate, and this is Season 7, Episode 19 of Let's Not Meet, the True Horror Podcast.
Some of you might be a bit surprised at the back-to-back lost stories. I normally like to space these out and do one every couple of months. However, you may actually hear a bit of it in my voice still, but on Christmas Eve I was hit with a pretty gnarly cold. Not the worst cold I've ever had, but it's definitely been the longest cold I've ever had to deal with. I'm pretty sure it's on its last leg though, and no, I've confirmed it's nothing more than the common cold. I usually get sick once every couple of years, and I've been well overdue for a bad one. Needless to say, my voice wasn't up to par for a new episode this week, but being locked in my room left me with plenty of time to put together what might be my favorite Lost Stories collection yet. This episode features 2 stories originally recorded by an old friend of the show, Sarah Aubrey, a very talented and successful voice actor out of Australia. I believe these were recorded sometime back in 2017 or 18. As long as I'm not hit with another unfortunate circumstance, we will be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week with a brand new episode. For now, though, enjoy some more ancient creeps with The Lost Stories Part 8.